Hey everybody, welcome back to ECS Magazine's Hangout, your weekly stop for all the cool kids talking about cool cars. I hope you guys like that intro because that was pretty hyped. I mean, I'm telling you, new face of the new thing we got here. I just love it, everything about it. It is very exciting. Exactly, right? So as always, ECS Magazine Hangout. We do this every week at Saturday at 8 p.m. We get guys from the car shows, from people who do stuff, to everything that's car related to come out, and we talk about cool car things. We're sponsored by Control Freak, so that's controlfreakcompany.com. So we're going to start off today good. As everybody knows, I am Primo, and I'm kind of hosting things. Above me is going to be the ECS master, Reggie. Say hello, Reggie. He's in the big wave. So, and we're going to go into we're going to start right off today, right hitting the runners. So we're going to start up top left here with our boy, Joel from NewEnglandAutoShows.com. Tell him hello, Joe, and tell him what you're about, buddy.
My name is Joel Chappell. I'm with NewEnglandAutoShows.com, which is probably the largest list of car shows and events in New England listed. And we also do coverage of those, as many of those shows that we can attend, which isn't as many as we'd like to.
You just did a video, didn't you?
I did just do my first YouTube video that premiered tonight. A quick little 6-minute one, kind of as an experiment.
What'd you think of it? Did you like it?
There's a lot of things that I need to do differently. It's one of those. It's a new process for me, and I forgot like certain gear that I knew would I apologize. And if you haven't seen the video yet, I apologize for the J.J. Abrams style of lens flaring that is constantly occurring, because I didn't have my tulip cover for my lens. So it was just like there was a couple of comedy errors that almost made me give up, but I'm like, nope, I'm gonna power through this. I'm gonna do it and just go.
I am more excited when people in our automotive community do this stuff and decide to pick up cameras or decide to pick up videos or decide to just do stuff. I commend you so much for doing what you did with that video. I know it's your first one. My first one, funny enough, looked probably worse than yours. I was probably about the 10th to 20th, maybe 100th, not officially, before I got to the level of that you did your first one. So to be able to put your first one out and have it just look like a video and be able to show cars and stuff, and down the road, you're going to learn to tell a story. You're going to learn to do all this stuff, and it's going to be second nature. But yeah, keep it up. We'll get to a point where we're kind of, we're going to be, I'd like to be able to put some videos up and kind of show some stuff off, but yeah. So, next up is going to be, Serge, who looks like he's talking to us from the truck. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm actually working this weekend. I can hear you, but I don't got much cell phone signal right now. Go back to Reg for,
well, it looks awesome.
Back to Joel for a bit. Can you hear me?
Well, the thing, can you introduce yourself while you're going, or is it that bad?
Okay. Actually, I got 2 bars now. I should be able to talk. I'm Sergio Souza. I'm from Ontario, Canada. I run Swift Car Club Canada, the Canadian Ontario chapter of Swift Car Club. Go to a lot of American shows. I actually plan on hitting the East Coast quite a bit this summer. Actually, in May 12th, we leave for Battle, Alabama. So I'm looking forward to that. And then we got a major show here in Canada. Can't hear me, can you?
No, I can hear you perfectly. Yeah,
okay,
you're coming in loud and clear. A little bit of the video's breaking up, but you know what? To be able to do the show while riding in your truck, I actually do shows where I feature us in a vehicle, kind of like going down the road, and I've been wanting to do one in a truck for a long time. So yeah, thank you very much for actually showing it. It's really cool to be able to share it. So today's topic for today is going to be what got you into this car scene thing. So we're going to go into it first. I want to we have one comment from Sparks Daddy, which says Doughboy. So yeah, then we'll go back to that. I don't know who to start with tonight. Sir, does anybody want to start or want to volunteer to start today to kind of tell us the story of what? Start with Joel. There you go. Joel, you're the man. So what really got you into this car show thing? What's been motivating you? All that stuff. Just go into it, buddy.
Originally it was anger.
Nice.
And it, I know that sounds horrible.
No.
But I mean, I have always been like just absolutely intrigued and fascinated by the engine and vehicle that that drives our passions, to go out onto the road type, and just as I told my son when he was learning how to drive, the automobile is the one and only true thing in the world that you actually have complete and utter control of.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many other things that you don't have, you think you have control, but you don't. And then while a car can go out of your control, ultimately it's up to you to keep it in control. But the original reason why I started doing what I'm doing with the website, it was originally at a time that my father was actually housebound. He was getting up in the years, and he could no longer go out to the car shows. And so what I did is I started taking pictures of cars, and then we'd sit in his living room, and we'd throw it up on his TV and start looking at cars, and he'd start going on the stories of like, oh yeah, I had one of those, or my buddy had one of those, kind of thing. And he has a lot of stories. And then later when it turned into like when I actually got a vehicle that was worth going to car shows with, the anger aspect happened when other people who were in the scene would talk about going to a show, and I'd be like, where did you find out about this? Like, how did you find out about these shows? And I every time, like, they would give me a separate resource, I would find like, I'd have a magazine or like a newspaper type item, and like you would find different information with different, not even the same shows, and it just seemed so bizarre to me that there was like so many different sources that had so much different information, and they didn't even share the same information. It just and it just blew my mind, type of thing. And the other thing is that people that were claiming that they had so many car shows, and you'd be like, he's listing 30, and I already know of an additional like 120 just based on the other sources that I got, kind of thing. So that it literally turned into me saying there's got to be just a better way to do this, or I think I can do better. And I'm not 100% sure I've got the ultimate solution, but I feel like that I can at least confidently say that I have 298 shows on my website right now that are definitely occurring.
Right. So did that whole thing together as a whole kind of motivate you to do the car show advertisement thing, or was it really separated? In other words, did you start off saying, I'm going to do it this way, and then you do the car show scene, and then it really built up, or was it really kind of just a package deal? How long did it kind of take to?
It's funny that you asked that question, because I don't know that I have the ultimate answer to that, because it's as if I started with doing the pictures, which actually reignited a passion for photography. And then it turned into, well, in order to get more pictures, I needed to go to more events. And then it was like just finding out about said events. And then I was like, well, I need to share this information, because, I can't hold it to my heart, kind of thing. If I can like help the community find out about these shows. And honestly, it was when I started turning into like, hey, I'm gonna go to these car shows, and I'll take pictures, and then I'll post a little blog about like what I saw and that type of thing. And honestly, you were actually the first one who actually shared my website. Nice. And actually said, check out what this newcomer is doing. It's pretty cool. And I was just like blown away. It was like, oh my God, that was like the first time it was like, somebody knows me, So
you're saying I was your first fan? I feel good about
I feel as it sometime. At least you were my first public fan.
Right. exactly. Too fun. No, I thought it was funny because I wanted to see something what you were doing done so many times before, a place where we could kind of share our thoughts and our like events and everything, and have like a centralized location. Like you were saying, I've been to so many different websites, and it always seemed to be, and it was, between forums, MySpace, then Facebook, and all that stuff. There was a time when it was like very difficult to kind of find something that was centered around everything and didn't have per se a bias. And even when I did my page, because I think I did a Facebook one first, because it was like, and I wanted mine more for reviews. In other words, to say this is the show and this is what made it good. And people didn't really bite on it too much, but I was trying to get that thing, and you actually did it right. You had the time to put into it. And you actually started digging for stuff, which I didn't have the time to do.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest inspiration, especially for the list, is that you would go to like I don't know that I want to call I guess they're competing websites, but the other websites that do the similar thing to what I do.
Yeah,
I would get frustrated because it was like you'd go there and they would say like Bass Pro Shops show, and then it would say location, but it wouldn't say anything more than that. Like it didn't have like for more info, contact, for more, like here's a link to their website, or here's a link to like the actual map to get there, kind of thing. And it was like, well, that's great, but then the same kind of thing where you would actually see on the same list, like a little bit down, like a lesser known like a Lions Club event happening in Littleton, and it's like, well, where in Littleton? Like, give me a little bit more. It's like, it's not like, it's as if sometimes people did that and they go, well, the people who go to these, they've been going to it for years. They know where it is. They just need to know what the date is, and that's fine. But if you want to broaden the audience for your show, you need to give as much information as you possibly can, and I'll try to find as much information and far beyond. Usually all I need is a breadcrumb. If somebody gives me like information about like a car show, I can usually use Google to find at least 2 to 3 corresponding pages that give me, oh, here's contact information. Oh, here's their actual website. Oh, here's their actual registration page. And then I can put that all into like one calendar event that shows up on the calendar. But not only that, I have the master list that links to that calendar event.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that people that people can get to it.
Well, I'm going to jump in here real quick because Adam McKeegan said, "Hello, my car family," and then he followed up with an event in Kansas called Keep It Clean. Good. I hope that you're having a great event over there. I don't know if you can actually share pictures or anything on Facebook or whatever, but anyway, but yeah, good luck with the event. I hope it's going great. The one thing that you said was something about the control of the car, or the connection with the car to the driver. One thing I've always wanted to hear from somebody to give me input on, and you're going to be the first person that's a victim of this question, is how do you feel? Because it used to be way back, it was the rider and the horse. Yeah. And then that kind of became I want to say the motorcycle thinking too, but I always thought of it as the car. In other words, that connection between the person and the car. Do you feel that kind of vibe, or is the car something completely different?
I very much feel personally that way.
Yeah.
But I will go on to say that I'm slowly merging into, or I think that the car enthusiast is merging into the minority of that.
Yeah.
Where, we have the Teslas that are coming out with like the automatic driving and
the disconnect.
The disconnect to, in the guise and the in the realm of safety. Because it maddens me so much, because what the reality is that we failed as a society to teach people how to drive correctly.
Wow.
Manual cars. How many people actually still know how to drive a manual car?
The number I think was it was between 20 and 40%. I had the number in my head before, but For the life of me, it's when you need that data, it's poof, it's gone. So anyway, so what I'm going to do right now is because I want to hear from Reggie, and if Reggie is ready, go for it, brother. What do you got for me?
Well, what got me inspired to get into the car scene was, one, I grew up in my father's garage and body shop all my life, and believe it or not, I kind of leaned more to the mini trucks when I first started out, and then I kind of went right into lowriding. But I've been in many different clubs before when I first got started in it, and went to some of the big name car clubs in North Carolina, like Animated Attractions, Low Level, mini tricks, stuff like that back in the days. And I don't know what, I kept showing, I enjoyed it, but for some reason I got tired of car clubs telling me what I can and cannot do to my own vehicle. And when I kind of started the magazine, I kind of leaned more to be able to hang out with different people, different car clubs, and that's kind of what my photographers do as well. We just kind of like more linger to every type of vehicle out there, and nobody can sit there and go, no, you have to hang out with us, or you have to pay dues, and you have to pay for your sticker, your plaque, and all that stuff. And I didn't want to get involved with that because I'm a talker. Surprisingly, that you can't tell in these past few Saturday nights or whatever, but I like to travel, I like to meet, and I like to see creativity in mini trucks and lowriders and rat rods and muscle cars. Anything that's exciting and that's not factory is my friend. So
awesome. Dan, now, since you've gone into this car thing, a lot of times people run into stuff where they face difficulties, and I know you've been in this for a while. Did you ever face any difficulties? And if you did, what helped you get over them?
Well, difficulties is money. Had my ups and downs with money. So, some characteristics like lowriders and everything. If I ain't got a lot of money, I can't get into lowriding like I love to, because that's expensive.
Right.
Oh, frig, yeah. A decent set of pump.
Yeah, I think pretty much any kind of car thing right there is going to be something it's very early
wrap frame. Oh, you're up there and about.
Yeah,
I mean, pretty much any question that starts to you that says, "Why don't you?" The answer is always money.
Yeah, right.
With a car
that was
addiction,
kind
you
of
can't
a
have a
lousy
drug
way to
addiction.
answer that question.
Right. For us guys that are also like we're cars and cameras and photography and all this stuff, man, there comes a point when I'm like, it's a fix. It's not, you know what I mean? I'm going to get a shout out here. Adam McKeegan says the car has to speak to you. He added in have to have a vision, and then said it should be a law for you to learn how to drive manual. I don't know if I would make a law out of it, but I definitely would suggest people that if you haven't driven a manual, there is just something about it that is, when we drive cars today, and I think people have forgotten this, is the cars of yesteryear. When I started driving, there was not really, I mean, they had them, but there wasn't really the power steerings. There was the three on the tree is what we used to call it. So your shifter was actually on the steering wheel per se.
You're showing your age.
Oh God, yeah. So if you want to get a lesson in John Deere tractors, I can probably give you that too. So, but yeah, that was the thing is there was something different back then. And I remember my grandfather, he got his first automatic transmission car. He drove it and drove. Remember, we were tobacco farmers, so they drove. It got beat up. And then one day he puts it in drive and he goes, it's not working anymore. Drive, just doing all the stuff. And we popped it open. And I remember going like, okay, well, there's the transmission fluid. I open it up and it's bone dry. And he goes, I was like, did you ever have the transmission serviced? And he goes, you have to do that? And that was the idea. It was such a new thing back then to be able to do it. And today we have cars that ABS, traction control, all these automatic transmissions, and then there'll be self-driving cars where people will there's a class that teaches people how to change their tires. That horrifies me. Like if you can't change the wheel on your tire when the tire goes flat, I'm really afraid of, get out there and get involved with your car.
You know, a lot of cars don't come with spare tires anymore, right?
No, they don't. Exactly. And the worst part is now, and we said this last time, I think, everybody complains that run flat tires have no feeling to them. But every time there's the automakers, because they have to focus more on, they're forced due to controls to focus on other things versus focusing on the stuff that we would like them to focus on. And that's why you're starting to get cars that are said to be numb. And that's the problem. We need cars that, go back and find some old car, even if you don't plan on buying anything that's manual transmission, that has no power steering, all those fun stuff, and just drive it. And I'm telling you, you're going to want to drive it again just because of wow, I actually felt the road. Like that was a bump. Yeah, that was a bump. That was gravel. That was whatever. It becomes part of you. And like Joel and me were saying with the horse, you become one with that vehicle. And once you do, it's just another experience. And a lot of the race car drivers, they still feel it. As a race car driver, everything that happens.
I think bags of juice on a car. You'll get the same feeling.
There's a movie moment that described that moment the most, and it was in the Ford versus Ferrari.
I agree with you on that one.
When he took it out and he's literally saying, "Talk to me."
Right.
What do you need? He's talking to the car, and I do that. When I drive my Corvette, like I'm constantly going, when I hit a shift just like perfectly, and it does that perfect, like,
Yep.
When you get that perfect blip,
yeah,
and you're taking off and you just go, oh baby, I'll pat the, I'll pat the dashboard and go, oh baby, yeah, you're in a good place, aren't you? It's I mean, driving a car should be visceral. It should be, it should be like,
name one car guy who doesn't have a name for their car.
I don't know that everybody has okay, I do. But
right, yeah.
I'm not sure everybody does. I mean, my Corvette doesn't necessarily have like a name. I mean, I call it Base Fun just because that's what the license plate is on it. But my Jeep, however, is actually Winston.
Nice.
And
cars have character.
Right. Adam says he doesn't have. Adam McKeegan says I don't have a name. Adam, we'll get you a name. Just put in the comments what kind of vehicle it is, and we'll give it one. We'll all do different names, and then you can decide which one is the one you like, and that'll be the name of it. He also said, I have a 2010 Nissan Maxima bagged on 20s, and I love it, but it takes time to build because of the money. So if we need to give you a name for the 2010 Nissan Maxima, and I'm thinking Mad Max. That's
Mad Max.
Mad
Maxine.
Max, man. Yeah. They're both.
That's it. There it is.
Well, you're gonna put a comment to it, but like, what's the name? You guys are great. All right, cool. But yeah, that's it becomes a passion. It's a connection, and the better that those cars that we had connections to, I think everybody remembers their best car when they had that. But there were some luxury cars that, like I said, I drove them and I just didn't feel them. The best luxury cars I ever drove were not really luxury oriented. They just really had all the options. Like you had the nice heated seats and stuff like that. But other than that, it's always been the driving experience, no matter what car you get. So, yeah. So, Serge, you've been quiet over there, and I have yet to hear. Before we started the show, he's like, "I have a story," and I yet to hear it.
He did.
The audience,
I do have one.
Yours, go for it.
Yeah, but you might run out of time if I open my story up.
Well, you can maximize it.
I say it was about 12 years old. I had a friend. He was a little older than me. His name was Mike Parr, and we had a mutual friend, Jay Dixon. They both were gearheads. I still remember walking into Mike's garage for the first time and seeing his purple Mustang, his Fox body. It was like an 85, I say, and he had this huge stereo in it, beautifully well done, California amps. That tells you how Dave's thing was. And I loved the car. And then he got me in meeting Greg from Stereo Connection and Bruce Evans, and the rest snowballed. I was an audio guy before I got into building custom cars.
That's awesome.
And one thing I learned, I was like 12, 13. I had my first stereo at in my dad's car, I had a stereo 14 years old in my dad's car.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you put that in yourself and did all the stuff.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah. My dad let me play with his car. Yeah. And then at my 16th birthday, after I got my license, my dad gave me the keys and said, "Go get a case of beer." And he said, "Take Guelph Avenue." Car was manual. Guelph Avenue is a big incline, so you got to learn how to clutch to get up that hill. He says, "You can get up that hill, you can have the car." Oh, I got up the hill and I got back to the house. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But that was how I learned how to drive a car. That's why I've always been partial to manuals.
Yeah. Reggie, what was your first car?
Oh my God. My favorite one, the one I love more than anything, was my 1985 Nissan 720 with the Z motor in it.
Wow.
Oh, that'd be fun. That'd be fun.
That was my little purple Nissan truck, mini truck, and it was called the Grape 8.
The Grape 8?
Yeah, Grape 8.
Oh, I love that name. You know what? It was so funny. What was the deal with Grape 8? Because I remember as a kid, seeing the purple car, and I want to say it was we had a lot of Impalas when I was growing up. So, but most of them were crashed. But that's not the point. Anyway, there was a lot. We had some purple cars, and I remember saying the Great Grape 8. And what was that from? Was that a show or something?
Yeah.
It was a cartoon that my grandfather used to watch. It was called Grape 8 and Beagle Bigley. It was a 17-foot ape, I believe, on top of a bus.
Oh, okay. Got it. So
Well,
I thought I recognized that.
I always thought it was a car. And now I'm like, I was wondering if it was a show. Because I remember you go to the shows and see the cool. Remember the old vans? They'd have these old vans, and they were all like the Mystery Machine, and they had the lowrider-esque paint on them. But they were, I want to say, Shaggy.
They're still around.
The Shaggy.
They're still around.
Oh, but they were, they're making a comeback, but they were so prolific back then.
Brother, there's a show coming up in Canada. Yeah. It's called Van Fest. There's going to be like 5,000 of them at that show.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so, they're not the true 70s, 80s van if they don't have the half naked chick riding a dragon painted on the side.
You're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh. There will be one at Van Fest.
wait! You're speaking the language. We too own Drop Draw Custom Vans. We run Drop Draw Custom Vans with Glenn Pilgrim.
Yep.
So there's proof that the custom van world is still a big thing.
Yeah.
I can't believe that's what people understand. A van is just such a cool thing to have as a custom vehicle because you can literally hop in there. Bring the whole family because we're all getting older, right? We all got kids and family. Hop the family in the van. You can go camping for the weekend and still take it to a car show. That's what I like about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, just wait till I retire. Watch what happens.
Yeah.
I will still be rocking like an 80s van, short box van with like 24s on the back, 15-inch wide with a deeper end, 22s on the front. Like old school KMC slides, painted like a burgundy. That's what I'll be rocking.
Sam says, "Got to have a lady on the side with a dragon while she's wearing a loincloth and wielding a sword." Okay.
Exactly. See, I told you.
I can see that in my head. Like it was like burned into there. Like it was like you remember the lady that's on the back of the mud flaps on the trucks. Like
trucker chick.
Know who I'm talking about when I say. Right. By the way.
Iconic.
Yeah, I love that logo. So we're at the 30-minute mark, and I just want to interject here real quick. Remember, guys, you're watching ECS Magazine Hangout, sponsored by Control Freaks. That's controlfreakcompany.com. Just remember, we're on Facebook, IG, YouTube, Twitter. Even if you may not be on the show, you got a comment section over there. Put some comments. We everything that you guys put in, we're going to respond to it. So remember, you always have voice. We're going to hear from you. And if you don't have anything to say and you just listen, use that time to hit that thumbs up button, and don't forget to subscribe because those comments, those subscriptions, those shares, all that stuff helps us with the algorithm. And trust me and Reggie need as much help as we can get. So the medication isn't working. But anyway, Joel actually commented in our own chat that said,
No. Sam did it first. I'm responding to him.
The disco ball? Okay.
Don't forget the disco ball hanging from the roof in the back. And I was just like, oh my God, he's not wrong.
I don't remember the disco ball, but I always remember like you'd have the van, you'd open up the back and it was bed. Like it wasn't a back. It was just bed.
Oh, it was the shaggin' wagon.
Right, but that was my thing. Like, did you believe in seats? Like, should have like a corner or something? I don't know.
Oh, no,
like,
you didn't need seats back in the 70s. Remember, I mean, we used to be able to ride in the back of even a station wagon and roll around like bowling balls.
right. Yeah, back in the day when natural selection was very high, we were in the back of station wagons. We didn't believe in seat belts.
We rode in the back of trucks.
Right, and we figured if you survived the accident, you were tough enough to live and that to procreate. So, and then you bought your van and you procreate. It all worked together. Braylon Roselle, tornado sirens are completely going off. There you go. So yeah. Oh, Sam responded back. The back seat that laid it was basically a bed. Yeah, it wasn't even a back seat.
I mean, let's talk about like quickly going back to the station wagon. I mean, who remembers like the seats that faced backwards so you could see death coming at you when
the coach thing, man.
When the person behind you had no brakes.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody believed in airbags. Now, what year did they start putting airbags in cars?
Oh, I want to say it was like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. Before that, it was the lap belt that if you got in an accident would probably kill you faster than the actual accident would.
Right.
But yeah. So does anybody want to hear what got me into cars, or do you care? Oh, Reggie, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, we care.
Yeah, go ahead.
We care. I want you to tell
you
your story.
No, I want you to go. You had your hand up. You go first.
Only thing I was going to say is anybody that's chiming in right now, if they're at Southeast Mini Trucking Nationals, if you got clear internet, you want to drop in, show us what we're missing out on, feel free to.
20-foot box.
I have a feeling
20-foot box, and just wash it. Don't wash the engine.
I'll definitely wash the engine.
No, just the acid wash on the tanks and shit. That's it.
Sergio over here.
Hey, we got
no problem.
See his pants. He's had a.
Oh, I'm getting my truck washed. Sorry, brother. Sorry, guys.
Why don't you wash my truck too? Yeah, I'll bring it over.
Yeah, bring my Corvette over, and you can wash that too.
Right. I feel like I'm being left out. Like, you know. Look at him. I'd want to stop anywhere and get my truck washed. Are you off the road now?
I'm parked for the night. I don't pick up tomorrow till 11:30 in the morning.
Do you do something like and not, you don't have to give out too much information, but do you actually do you know what you're shipping, or do they kind of give you loads?
Automotive parts.
Oh,
yeah, just 20-foot box. I want the truck washed and the tanks acid washed, and the side box is acid washed.
It's
Jonathan Transportation. Sorry, guys. Jonathan Transportation.
You can just mute it for a second.
Sorry, brother. I'm just giving them my information.
Yeah, we'll be right
wash
back.
My truck.
Cool.
I should do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, God, finally. The best guy, one of the best guests we have on the show, and this is what we got to deal with, guys. Somebody else out here save us. No, I'm kidding. We happily invite you to every show, no problem, buddy. So what got me into cars was, and the thing is, I was kind of more. I think it was genetic. I started off. I was in Martinsville, Virginia. It was where I was born at. And if anybody knows, Martinsville is NASCAR country. And that is the place where, I mean, you couldn't avoid cars. You were surrounded by people that were on the track. Everybody wanted to race. Everybody wanted to go faster. I think it was funniest thing is that we used to have guys that would drive down a highway, and the highway went past the state police barracks. And that was the constant run, was the idea of being able to go past that barracks and not get caught. Like they didn't have time to get out of the barracks to come out to chase you. So, and that roads were 140 miles per hour plus all the time. It was really crazy. And my grandfather was actually basically a car collector. He had tons of cars. We had a garage he bought and dedicated to us. Funny, he was a Lincoln driver, but he had every kind of car was imaginable, from Mustang, Chrysler, Cadillac, anything that had a specific thing that it did for the time, like the first fully loaded vehicle, the first sport car. He had a T model. All that stuff. And I pretty much, it didn't matter what I was doing. If I wasn't somewhere trying to make a car go faster, I was always involved with stuff. Even when I wasn't a car guy effectively, I was into it. And then the movie, Smokey and the Bandit came out, and that was kind of it was always coming back to say I picked out I wanted a Trans Am. I ended up getting that in like I think it was 85, 86 with my parents bought one, but I was kind of like, there it is, that's going to be your car down the road. But yeah, so that, and then the other car was, and I hate to admit it because it seems very
Thanks.
very what do you call it, apropos, was the Countach. Basically became, I was always into that car. I ended up getting the first little model of it when it was the little yellow Matchbox one. And that was the thing, is the more that car grew on me. And then, but you lived in the southern states. Nobody wanted to deal with any of that stuff. It was always the Chevy versus Ford debate. But when I moved to New England, then it became a feasible car that I could get in touch with, I could contact. That was the thing, is I was able to get I was next to the car, so I was actually getting in touch with it, and it was something a lot of people were kind of like, how did you do that? And I was like, I don't know, maybe I was just too stupid to not know that I couldn't, so here I was hanging around with Porsches, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, some of the fastest cars on the planet, and I got into this GT racing thing, and then Super GT, and it just pummeled from there. I just went from car to car to car, depending on what, like I had a muscle car, I had a speed car, I had a drag car, I had every kind of car. And that was my thing, is I wanted to experience them all. If some point it got to V12 turbo, anything that I could have that would kind of ding flags for me, I wanted to feel it, know what it was like. And then it came a point that people, I was like, hey, can we borrow your car and let's see what it's like, or just sit in it and drive it. And that's the thing, is it became more and more. Now I'm getting more. It's so funny because I started off with Impalas, the just family cars that I didn't even see any big deal to, like back then. And now I've gone pretty much full circle, and I've seen those, and I've realized kind of that big body luxury cars kind of identify with them. So I want to have something new, and I want to have something old, and I want to be able to basically say there's no car show I can't go to. In other words, you want to a lowrider car show with muscle cars and old cars, I got a car for that. If you got a new car, I got a car for that. If you have a tuner car, I got a car for that. I just want one for each that I can go to any show and fit in with it and just never say no to it. And it's such a different world now than the world because we were doing car shows in the late 70s, and it's so weird that like what seems there and now, both what's changed and what hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy. And that's that things come back around, they do full circle again. But I think the biggest thing for me was seeing people's successes, to be able to take this world and make it something different. And it was something I got used to seeing, like people, you could tell the people that I'm going to change something. And then, you always get the guys that were, they get into this and they weren't dedicated. They just wanted to do it because they wanted to have a girlfriend, or they wanted to have whatever. And I don't think that happens as much anymore as it used to be. Like back when I was around, like you had the guy that had the Chevelle. He was the guy that was, and we had a Chevelle, we had the Trans Am, and I had a 76 Buick Grand Sport. And we were the 3-man troop that would go to these different strips all over the place. And this is way back in, I think, like 92, 93. And we just go to these different places and drive them, and everybody was part of this thing. You know what I mean? It was so different, but it was so fun. But anyway, so Sam says that's basically what looks like. I like them all. I mean, I pulled up in my LMTV dragging my enclosed trailer this morning, and the looks on their faces when I rolled my bag truck out the back door, and it's the same thing. And Javier, wait, we got girlfriends? I missed that part. No. Yeah, that ended back with the Facebook.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah, that was it, man. So now you gotta have. I don't even know what we have to own today to pick up a girlfriend. So I'm married, so thankfully I don't have to deal with that insanity anymore. But so yeah. But yeah, I mean we're at the 40-minute mark here. I want to hear some input from you guys. Kind of what do you think gets people into cars today? What is the thing that's going to spur the next generation to do this?
Okay, I'll give my opinion on this. I have that fat Fiat, with the angels down the side of it. You know how many kids I see go, wow, that's cool when I drive by, and they see those mirrors? I was that kid at one time. You mean where I saw, holy cow, look at that car. You mean
Right.
that's what set me off was that Mustang. When I
Right.
saw that loud stereo, it just set me off. It was like a trigger.
Yeah.
You mean?
I
And
remember.
I'm seeing it in the next generation now because my buddy, his daughter, oh,
Mhm.
she's a year and a half old, and she's already all about the cars. She has like 6 of these Power Wheels, and she's got the push cars too. It's like she's right into the cars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I used to, when I remember when I drove, and this doesn't happen as much anymore. It's so funny. I have older people tell me my cars are cool versus the newer ones, but I remember doing I was at my shop that we worked at the time, and I'm working on my car. So it's sitting on the lift, and every other car is like kind of bland or whatever. So I'm doing the car, and this young kid comes up to the window, and he's literally like face against the glass looking at it. It was a 2000 Toyota Celica GTS, and I had done body kit, everything to it. It looked really good. I think I had 19-inch Aurelia Assassin wheels on it. How crazy is that?
Oh, those are
But
nice.
so yeah, and he was just glued to that window, and I looked over and I opened the door and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And he was like, "That is the coolest car I've ever seen." So I lowered it on the lift and let him come over and look in it. He was like, "That's it. That's what I'm getting." And that's the thing is that hasn't happened so much at shows. I know people bring their kids. I was seeing them yesterday. I was at the Thursday. I was at Bass Pro, but yeah, I haven't seen that moment anymore, and I'm hoping it comes back. But let's see. Sam says they love the murals and the custom vinyl. Let's Talk says going to World Wheels in Boston at the old Boston Garden back in the 80s is what got me into cars and the car scene. I still keep those memories close to me as those were the only good memories I had with my dad. And I had a picture taken with the 4 original kit cars used in the series. That's pretty cool. So, and that's the thing is do we even have any car shows out there right now that are like the old?
Yeah.
Knight
Yeah, I
Rider
mean,
thing?
that it isn't. You kind of touched on it earlier too. Because there was the what we call the hero cars, right?
Yeah.
Like back in the day there was the Bullet and then Eleanor. Even the original Eleanor before the current Gone in 60 Seconds. But then it became the General Lee, and then it became Kit.
Right.
And
Don't forget Cannonball Run.
And I was just about to say, you hit it like right there, because
Yeah.
I was gonna say to you when you mentioned Smokey and the Bandit, and you mentioned Trigger, because that's what he called.
Yep.
Yeah, Herbie.
Herbie.
Herbie
Oh,
too.
that was a good one. Herbie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Herbie too.
18.
But I was thinking to myself, like, I mean, you could almost say quintessentially for at least the 70s, if you had a cool car and you had a cool guy, that machismo, and dare I say guy that was with said car, that especially made us boys that much more excited to be in the scene. I think, like, I know for myself, I'm not embarrassed. I'm not embarrassed.
The leather jacket and the what do you call it? The rat rod, the lead spread.
but I'm not embarrassed to say that there was a time when I wished when I was probably 8 or 9, maybe even like going on to my 12-year-old stage, that I wished I could grow a mustache like Burt Reynolds, and have that Trans Am jacket, and
I think kids today would kind of look at it as creepy. Like,
right. I know.
Like, oh, you're gonna pull me over, or are you gonna like what? What are you doing? So it's you can't show up in certain things.
But I mean, Cannonball Run, I think, is like one of those. Like that's the first movie. I mean, you could maybe say the Gumball Rally, or it's a mad world. Those are other movies as well. But to me, like from my memory as a child, I think the Cannonball Run was that movie that mixed the exotic with the muscle car world, in such a fantastic way, and in such a fun way. You know, that
Do you know the movie that got me back into, because I both knew the old movie and then I knew the newer movie, and you know what really kind of came back? Everybody kind of blamed it on Fast and Furious, which Fast and Furious got me, but I already had momentum when Fast and Furious was out. What movie do you think of that 1999 2000 area code was? Because I don't want you to cheat. Was the movie that really kind of said brought a lot of people back to the game.
Gone in 60 Seconds, Nicolas Cage.
There you go.
There it is.
Go back and watch that movie again, because so much stuff it's like shadowed over that movie once it came out. There was a lot of stuff out at the time still that we kind of got into and listened to, but that movie was still. And I want to read this real quick. Javier Foxberg just had the Hot Wheels event maybe 6 months ago. That was awesome. Sam, we were at World Wheels back in February. We do a lot of the movie replica cars because the kids love them. We keep doing that, buddy. The 6.6 Trans Am is awesome. Nothing like driving it sitting in the yard. I love the 6.6. We used to have those. Fixed way too many of those cars, to be honest. I'd be afraid to work on an engine now. There are two guys that popped up Jay Leno's garage and bought and restored the actual kit car. Sat in back in the 80s in the World of Wheels. That was, and I still want to see those. But yeah, Gone in 60 Seconds had, think about it, all the cars that it had in it. It had the lead sled
cars.
It had the hot rod. It had all the luxury cars. It had the Diablo. Literally every flag I had at the time, it dinged it and was just like, this is the movie. The only thing I didn't like was stealing cars. And that was like, but I was amazed at how many, how much of that story really resonated with people about how to, no matter what it was, if it was just an old Lincoln, but they even had one where it was like the drugs were in the back. They're like, they even pulled a way to make a stock car famous in the movie. So, yeah.
I mean, it's like even like, television, went back to like Starsky and Hutch.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how many people wanted a Gran Torino, with that silly white stripe on the side of it. I mean, it was not by any means, it wasn't the greatest car in the world, but I'll bet you, dollars to nickels that it reinvigorated Ford's, sales of the Gran Torino, for crying out loud.
Well, I mean,
oh yeah, guaranteed.
Did you know after the Fast and Furious, the Mitsubishi Eclipse from 95 to 99?
Oh my God, yeah.
Sales went up.
Find one.
Like 60%, but it wasn't new at the time. So it was all, the used car market blew up. Yeah. And it was so weird that people were like, cars that you would have said, and people are going to get mad at me, but when the Toyota Supra came out, was it the 4th gen or 7th gen, whatever the heck gen it was, the K4, I think it was. When that car came out, people were not big fans. They thought it was a big lumbering, hulky car that didn't make a lot of power. There was and tuner guys that got a hold of it were like, well, this thing is tough to tune. The most I ever saw, I think, pre the movie, a real life, was like 340 horsepower, 350, 360. It did not push a lot of weight. It wasn't until really towards coming into the movie that people liked it. And then people started feeding into it and saying, you know what? It's got a ceramic engine. It's got all this stuff. It can dissipate heat well. And then that's when they really start realizing, like, hey, we can make a 600 horsepower car of this, because it
1400.
Yeah, now you can do all sorts with the 2JZ. But that was the thing is before that, a lot of these cars, nobody really cared about them. They were like a 300, whatever. And the 90s I would say from 88, 89 on into 90s, about 98, I think it would be. A lot of those, that was one of the most competitive time for any car. You could really buy a car from a Corvette on up to a Ferrari, and they all kind of made similar horsepower numbers. It was a very competitive time. So yeah, and that's now today they're all over. I mean, we're talking what does the Hellcat make?
Oh, what, 600, 700 plus?
Yeah, right. What's that, Reggie?
Yeah, but it's a heavy truck. I mean, heavy car.
What's that, Reggie?
It's a heavy car.
Sitting here listening to the interesting conversations, I think I could vouch that 95% of the people that got involved with car show scenes or somehow got into it because of Hot Wheels, car movies, their father in the garage.
The friend in the garage.
Yeah.
Yep.
building die-cast cars together, making model cars back in the days. You know, I ain't gonna lie to you. I used to be the little kid that was 7, 8 years old, had my little Hot Wheel cities out and stuff. I used to make my little model cars with my dad and stuff like that, and go out there watch them paint cars, and that's what got me into it.
Right. But I think that was one thing that I think that we have to stress here that is so important is that for all of us, there really wasn't, there was one catalyst that kind of started the ball rolling and got that snow. But the thing is we connected more and more on that snowball as it went along because we were constantly inundated by these vehicles that were inspiring for us, that constantly said, hey, I don't want to just do this. I want to drive that. I mean, it's like kind of like how many people did Arnold Schwarzenegger and Rocky Balboa and, you know, like Sylvester Stallone, how many people got into working out because, or Karate Kid is karate, you know what I mean? And constantly got that stuff inundated. We go, oh, wait a minute. Now you've seen Karate Kid. Wait till you see Bloodsport. You know, there's all these things that would, yeah. You know, the whole, like, it was funny. I had my friend's, what is it, a competitive bodybuilder, and he was meeting a friend, and I told him, I said, if you don't do the handshake with Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger, like, how good friends can you possibly be? But and I still do the weightlifting and stuff. But you got to think about all those things that we constantly were inundated both with film and movie, inspiring. The cars out there that just continue to just be in our faces that said, you can't not be into this. You can't call yourself cool unless you have the cool car. And that, to me, I kind of wonder what our future is going to hold for the cool car. Is it going to be the old muscle car? Is it, because once we have driving cars, what do we have left? You know,
the problem is that the car has been vilified.
Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunate to say that, you know, what so many people have, like, put on, like, the automobile on how it's damaging our environment. You know,
those lithium mines are not much better. That's all I got to say.
Right.
And 5-year battery life.
Yeah, let's look at the footprint of a Prius versus like a '69 Chevelle. I'll tell you.
Mm-hmm. I want to think more of what we do. So, for instance, when tomorrow I'm going to go to a car show,
right.
And my wife looked at my daughter and said, "You have a choice of doing 3 or 4 things," and she didn't even know that I had a car show. And she asked, she goes, "Is Daddy going to a car show?" And she goes, "Yeah, we actually do have a car show." And she goes, "Then I want to go to that." And the thing was, is she went to a car show one time and somebody revved a car really too loud. They shouldn't have revved it when they did it right in the middle of everybody and scared her really bad. So she couldn't. It was a while before she decided she wanted to get back into doing car shows because they scared her. But that's the thing is she actually worked on it to get back in to be able to see these cool things. And she's sat in Denny Hamlin's car. She's been near, you know, she shook hands with Dale Earnhardt Jr., all these people, and she loves racing and she's done it. She's been into it. And it's like, for her, it's kind of part of her future. Even if the new car isn't exciting, she still has a lot of old cars in the past, whether they're sitting in my driveway or if they're out there in general, that she can go back and say, I love those. I want to go see those cars and have a place. They'll always have a place to be. Do you know what I mean? And I think those are key. But Sam here says, I'd rather have the old 87 FX16 Corolla GTS. So much more power and acceleration for its size than the Supra. And then look at the environmental impact on old batteries are having on the planet. So, but that's the thing is I think we're looking at a lot of this stuff from saying, let's point fingers at the old cars. No, I don't want to point fingers at these new cars.
No, I mean the reality is like the old batteries are much more recyclable than the new batteries. You know, you
but
can recycle the lead in an old battery, but you can't, you know.
But looking at if we sit around for the rest of our time telling each other how bad those old cars are.
Hey guys, I gotta head out.
Bye, Serge. Have fun, man. If we sit there the whole time and talk about how these new cars stink, I think that's the wrong thing. We have to look back and say those cars are cool because number one, no car today drives like that. You're never going to get that connected experience with the road. And somebody out there is going to want that experience, even if they go back and look at the old movies or the old shows.
It's funny because I had the conversation with somebody last night at the car show. And it was mentioned by a person while I was sitting in front of a certain car.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I saw this thing. It was the funniest thing on Facebook. And it was, nobody will ever get excited over a barn find of a Prius.
Right.
And don't get me wrong. It's a funny meme. We've all chuckled at it.
Right.
But it was mentioned while I was sitting in front of a 1983 LTD wood paneled station wagon.
All right.
In 1983, I challenge each one of you to tell me that if somebody looked at you and said, nobody's going to get excited about finding this LTD station wagon in a barn.
Yep.
And now we go to a car show and we see one of those and we kind of go, I mean, we may not get like, God, I got to have one, but there's a nostalgia factor that happens where we remember that time that when we, our moms dropped us off at school and something like that. And there's a kid being dropped off at school in a Prius that might see one later on in life at a car show that will have that visceral moment of memory that, whether, good or bad, type of thing. And it may have nothing to do with the car. It may have that family connection, type of thing. And that's the thing. I think for me, my love of the automobile it was so much a part of my father having such a love of cars and having such an eclectic history with cars. With my mother as well, before they were divorced, where they used to both rally in Long Island with BMWs and Volkswagens, and and he had a 32. His first car was a 32 Ford with a flathead V8. I mean, those are the kind of things where you connect. And I'm not saying it's like you connect with a father figure. Maybe it is a father figure, but even like I have that best friend who who raced cars at the local racetrack and rebuilt engines in his parents' basement, so that he could put it in there, and we'd sit there and go, laugh at him because he blew up a motor because he forgot to torque down the connecting rods, kind of thing. So I mean, those are the kind of like memories that I think a lot of kids aren't allowed to have as much as we used to have. Right. And I think that's kind of a sad state of affairs. And I think it's up to us to kind of, at the car shows where we attempt to reconnect kids with the automobile and
I want to double back on this because what Sam said. He says technology needs to keep progressing, and we shouldn't put down anyone's car, and that's their pride and joy. I
agree with that 100%.
There's two things with that. Number one, I remember I've driven a lot of cars, and I have a lot of cars that have impressed me. The Bugatti Veyron was such a Concorde moment for us, and I think it was one that a lot of people kind of tried to sweep under the table because other cars went faster. That's the thing is the Koenigseggs and all that stuff, but the old McLaren F1, that's the one that was the F-16 fighter jet,
right,
that came out. But yeah, when I drove, I was looking at new technology, and I said, we as a car community we love new technology. We love going faster. And the thing is the faster a car goes and the more performance oriented it is, the cleaner it drives. And I remember getting in the NSX, the new NSX, which was a hybrid car. And I said, I cannot wait to do this because it was designed specifically to incorporate that hybrid technology into stuff. And I have to say, it was probably, it was, if not one of the top two, it possibly was the best car I've ever, if I'm not saying everything was perfect and saying, hey, this is the car you'd want to buy, I don't know if I would want to buy it. There was obviously certain things about it that didn't connect with me. But it was one of the top 2 cars I've ever driven when it comes to performance, the way it handled, the way it was easy to take care of. That was the future. That was the future I thought we were going to have. And I was very, very excited to have it. And just to see like some of the stuff right now, I think we've kind of sabotaged that. But people say, hey, you know what? Nobody's, and you know what, you guys, if you disagree with me, please put this in the comments. But everybody used to get that meme that said, why get a V8? Because nobody's going to ever open a door and look at a Honda and be excited about it. Well, somebody opened the door on a Acura Integra Type R.
Yeah.
And that car went, I want to say it was $90,000.
Yeah.
Somebody got really excited about that 4-cylinder. And like Joel was saying, there was a time when we used to, if you ever seen National Lampoon's Christmas, there was a time in our lives that we laughed at the panel door wagon and said, that is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. And today there are people that are buying them and coveting them because we realize how cool that history was and how much it has a place, no matter how stupid. Like the Volkswagen Bug has a place as special as a Toyota Camry and a T model or A model or whichever model you want to go. Those things had monumental places in our hearts. And what we hope is that you see those things and they inspire you just as much as they've inspired us over time. And don't forget that history, because we never want it relegated to history. We always want it to be our future. Thanks, Mark. All right, guys, I think that's it for the show tonight. This has been the ECS Hangout brought to you by Control Freak. That's controlfreakcompany.com. I will remember, guys, Facebook, IG, YouTube, Twitter. Make sure you go over. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to thumbs up that video. Remember, comment after the show is off. We pay attention to those comments, and those comments can be something that drives the next topic that we have on the show. I want to thank, as always, Joel Chappell of New England Auto Shows, Serge for coming over from Swift's Car Club Canada, and of always the Master at Arms here, Reggie from ECS Magazine. Reggie, do you have anything that's going to take us out for tonight?
Do I have to?
No, you don't have to if you don't want to.
Okay. He's not going to do the Jerry Springer final thought.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what? That is a good thought. I might add that in starting next Saturday. I might
right. It's your baby, man. You created it. You get to bring it out.
The Hangout final thought tonight. Treat everybody equally. Admire everybody's vehicle, whether it's yours or not. Respect each other. Clean up after each other, and don't touch everybody else's vehicles at the car shows.
Don't do it. Guys, have a great night. Have fun. See you soon.